Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So we're reading indoors today, as they say.
Yeah, with her indoors.
With her indoors. Where are we? What's
Canto 9.
No.
Canto 4, Chapter 9, Text 1.
So starting a new chapter today.
Yeah, I got a new book as well.
Turn a new page, starting a new chapter in life.
Ooh. Alright. Om Namo
Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Alright, text 1. The great sage Maitreya told Vidura, when the demigods were thus reassured by the personality of Godhead, they were freed from all fears. And after offering their obeisances, they returned to their heavenly planets. Then the Lord, who is non-different from the Sahasrasira incarnation, got on the back of Garuda, who carried him to the Madhuvan forest to see his servant Dhruva. Purport. The word Sahasrasira refers to the personality of Godhead known as Garbhodakshay Vishnu. Although the Lord appeared as Kishoredakshay Vishnu, he has been described here. Shirodakshay Vishnu. He has been described here as Sahasrasira. Sahasrashirsha Vishnu. Because he's non-different from Garbhodakshay Vishnu. It's a long names, isn't it? According to Srila Sanatana Goswami in his Bhagavatam Bites,
what's that? Rupa Goswami and Laghu Bhagavatam.
Oh, no. Excuse me. Look. Srila Sanatana Goswami in his Bhagavatam Bites.
Oh, wow. That's interesting.
So, there you go.
It's... interesting.
The Sahasrashirsha, personality of Godhead, who appeared at that time, was the incarnation known as Prishnigarbha. He created the planet known as Dhruvaloka for the habitation of Dhruva Maharaj. Well, what a mouthful and what jeepers. So basically the point is, Lord Vishnu, after hearing out the demigods, pacified them, and they felt pacified. Right, they felt comforted because they went to him with all their troubles, like they do regularly when we read the Bhagavatam. And like the eternal Father that Lord Vishnu is, he pacifies him. All right, and then he has to go and sort it out in his different forms. So he basically goes to Madhuvan forest to see Dhruva, where he's doing austerities, and it says here, so he's already created the planet known as Dhruvaloka. He's already got the result of Dhruva's penances ready.
Oh, where did you get that from?
Yeah. He created the planet.
It doesn't give a time when he created. It's just saying that he's the one that created the planet.
Alright, I sit corrected. That's how I read it. He created the planet known as Dhruvaloka for the habitation of Dhruva Maharaj. So Prabhupada's basically doing a spoiler alert, because if that's not true, then he's done, spoiler alert.
Okay.
Because now we know what he's done. Anyway, text 2.
Lord have mercy. Send me one of those readings. Text 2. The form of the Lord, which was brilliant like lightning, and in which Dhruva Maharaj, in his mature yogic process, was fully absorbed in meditation, all of a sudden disappeared. Thus, Dhruva was perturbed, and his meditation broke. But as soon as he opened his eyes, he saw the Supreme Personality of Godhead personally present, just as he had been seeing the Lord in his heart. Wow, that's awesome. Okay, purport. Because of his mature position in yogic meditation, Dhruva Maharaj was constantly observing the form of the personality of Godhead within his heart. But all of a sudden, when the Supreme Personality disappeared from his heart, he thought that he had lost him. Dhruva Maharaj was perturbed, but upon opening his eyes and breaking his meditation, he saw the same form of the Lord before him. In the Brahma Samhita 538, it is said, Premanjana Charita Bhakti Vilochanena, a saintly person who has developed love of Godhead by devotional service always sees the Lord's transcendental form of Shyam Sundar. This Shyam Sundar form of the Lord within the heart of a devotee is not imaginary. When a devotee becomes mature in his prosecution of devotional service, he sees face to face the same Shyam Sundar he has thought of during the entire course of his devotional service. Since the Supreme Lord is absolute, the form within the heart of a devotee, the form in the temple, and the original form in Vaikuntha, Vrindavan Dham, are all the same. They are non-different from one another. Wow, that's pretty powerful. So, this last part especially, a few things come to mind. One is that, of course, in general, we understand the Lord in the heart to be the Vishnu form, like Dhruva Maharaj is described, or like is being described here. It's a Vishnu form that comes before Dhruva Maharaj, not a Shyam Sundar form, if that makes sense. So, generally we understand that the Lord in the heart is a Vishnu form. But here, Srila Prabhupada is making the assertion that if within your heart you're meditating on Shyam Sundar Krishna, then that becomes the form of the Lord in your heart, and that also becomes the form of the Lord that you see at the time of death. So Prabhupada says, since the Supreme Lord is absolute, the form within the devotee, the heart of the devotee, the form in the temple, and the original form in Vaikuntha, Vrindavan Dham, are all the same. So that's quite powerful. So all three of these aspects of the Lord are the same. Now Prabhupada says they're the same, and then he says they are non-different from one another. So, yeah, it's quite powerful because, we go to the temple and we stand before the deity and we know this is Krishna, but to a greater or lesser extent we may still be thinking, okay, but it's just the deity, it's the deity form of Krishna. Even if we're devotional, we may think it's the deity form of Krishna, the Lord in the heart, and when we see Krishna, we're going to see something more magnificent, let's be honest. But this is saying that when you're standing before Krishna in the temple, you should feel within your heart that you're standing before Krishna. When you're meditating on the Lord within your heart, you should feel personally present with Krishna. And then when the time comes that you are personally before Krishna, you'll realize that all these times I was before Krishna, and I wasn't really thinking I was before Krishna. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Text 3. The form of the Lord, which was brilliant like lightning. No, that's what you just read.
Yeah, it's 3.
Text 3. When Dhruva Maharaj saw his Lord just in front of him, he was greatly agitated and offered him obeisances and respect. He felt flat before him like a rod and became absorbed in love of Godhead. Dhruva Maharaj in ecstasy looked upon the Lord as if he were drinking the Lord with his eyes, kissing a lotus feet of the Lord with his mouth, and embracing the Lord with his arms. Purport. Naturally, when Dhruva Maharaj personally saw the Supreme Personality of Godhead face to face, he was very much agitated in awe and respect, and it appeared as if he were drinking the entire body of the Lord with his eyes. The devotee's love for the Supreme Personality of Godhead is so intense that he wants to kiss the lotus feet of the Lord constantly, and he wants to touch the tips of the toes of the Lord and constantly embrace his lotus feet. All these features of Dhruva Maharaj's bodily expression indicate that upon seeing the Lord face to face, he developed the 8 kinds of transcendental ecstasy in his body. So Dhruva Maharaj, as you would expect, I would assume, if you're going to come face to face with God, there's going to be you're going to be affected by it.
Meaning?
So Prabhupada here is saying that he's basically like stunned, and he's in ecstasy, transcendental ecstasy in his body, and he's just swooning and everything. Because even like if we relate it to ourselves, when we meet pure senior devotees, we feel affected by it, and they're not God, but they're simply the messenger of God. So the bona fide transparent via medium messenger, not just any old person. They you feel affected by it. You know, like when I met my spiritual master the first time, it was horrible in one sense, because I thought he could see right through me, like proper see right through me, like, you know, exactly. And I wasn't even doing anything to it. It wasn't like some crazy wild person, but you felt almost like he's reading all the different lives you have, you know, all the crazy stuff. And it was weird. It was like good and bad. I'm not saying it's all horrible, but it's like people say that as well. Oh, I think like my guru or senior devotees, whatever, they can see, you know, you feel like, yeah, you kind of feel like they're looking right at you, you know. And if you read some of the memories of Prabhupada disciples, they say like that they felt Prabhupada was looking like X-ray vision, you know, he could see. So if that's true of, though, you know, someone who's representing the Lord, what to speak of the Lord if he's standing in front of you, you'd be like, oh my God, you know, because you'd really feel it, like, you know. But at the same time, like it says here, you wouldn't just feel like that, like some naughty schoolboy, but at the same time, you'd also be in awe, because if Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he therefore is the source, for example, of all beauty, then that in itself, you're going to be like, whoa. Imagine when we see beautiful things, you know, like a beautiful person or scenery or whatever, something to eat, whatever. But you know, you can be like, oh, that's amazing. What to speak of the person who is the source of that? So in all aspects, you can understand why someone's like, oh, you know, it'd be too much. You'd have to be on a certain level of transcendence, or be given that level by Krishna, because I reckon we'd just combust. You just couldn't take it. You just couldn't take it.
Okay. So tell us in the comments below what you think if you came face to face with God.
Yes.
And we're testing to see if you really listen to the whole talk, because we're saying that now somewhere in the middle. Okay, text 4, and we'll finish with this. Although Dhruva Maharaj was a small boy, he wanted to offer prayers to the Supreme Personality of Godhead in suitable language. But because he was inexperienced, he could not adjust himself immediately. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, being situated in everyone's heart, could understand Dhruva Maharaj's awkward position. Out of his causeless mercy, he touched his conch shell to the forehead of Dhruva Maharaj, who stood before him with folded hands. Yeah, it's like you can imagine being like shell shocked, like if you see your famous hero musician or hero sports star or hero, actor or actress, whatever. Purport. Every devotee wants to chant the transcendental qualities of the Lord. Devotees are always interested in hearing about the Lord's transcendental qualities, and they are always eager to glorify these qualities. But sometimes they feel inconvenienced by humbleness. The personality of Godhead being situated in everyone's heart specifically gives a devotee intelligence to describe him. It is therefore understood that when a devotee writes or speaks about the Supreme Personality of Godhead, his words are dictated by the Lord from within. Interesting. This is confirmed in the Gita, 10th chapter. To those who constantly engage in the transcendental loving service of the Lord from within dictates what to do next in order to serve him. When Dhruva Maharaj felt hesitation, not knowing how to describe the Lord for want of sufficient experience, the Lord, out of his causeless mercy, touched his conch shell to Dhruva's forehead, and he was transcendentally inspired. This transcendental inspiration is called Brahma Maya. Interesting. Because when one is thus inspired, the sound he produces exactly corresponds to the sound vibration of the Vedas. That's weird, isn't it? This is not the ordinary sound vibration of this material world. Therefore, the sound vibration of the Hare Krishna mantra, although present in the ordinary alphabet, should not be taken as mundane or material. Interesting. So, as we were mentioning previously, that Srila Prabhupada is perpetually telling us how a devotee acts. And every devotee wants to chant the qualities of the Lord. They're interested in hearing about the Lord. That's there. The Lord is situated in everyone's heart, and he gives specific intelligence to describe him. That was interesting. Prabhupada said, if you write about the Lord, then you are being directed by the Lord within the heart. Yeah. So the Lord himself is dictating to you to be able to write about him. It's quite powerful.
Yeah.
And then, of course, writing a letter to, not writing a letter, but, yeah. Anyway, yeah, I think that's good.
Okay, thank you, everybody.
All right. Thanks very much. Please read the Bhagavatam. Bhava started a new book.
Well, it's not new, it's the Bhagavatam.
Yeah, but it's a new volume.
Volume.
All right, thank you. Hare Krishna.